Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I do stand-up comedy, and gosh, stage time is just so hard to come by. I had to apply to this. Gotcha! No, I'm actually going to do the comedian's worst nightmare. I'm going to be Earnest for roughly 8 minutes, so join me, won't you? My name is Katie Cameron, and I am a local potter. And there is a lot of chatter happening on. I'm also autistic, and so all of this noise is really fucking with me. We do still have people presenting, so it would actually be really cool to just all take a deep breath together and listen to me talk. Thank you. I recently moved back to Vermont after a decade away of living in Minneapolis. Where I had a whirlwind journey as the sole owner and operator of a community clay studio. My goal was to make working with clay more accessible to the community, and I achieved that goal because my business nearly doubled each year. I was sprinting up to keep up with my business's growth for 4 years, which is a really good problem to have on paper. But in reality, it was really impacting my day-to-day life, and it became incredibly challenging to keep up with. I was honored to have built a space that supported such a beautiful, caring, and fun community, but I also realized that I personally was overextending myself and giving way too much of myself away in the process. In an effort to keep it all together, I was falling apart. And while all of this was happening, my partner and I identified a desire to move back home to Vermont. And so in 2024, when my lease was up, I sold my studio assets to another local potter. And before we could even catch our breath, we packed up, we sold our house, and we made our way back east. We've been back in Vermont for just over a year, and I have been regrouping, settling in, trying to find a good balance between making and creating my own wares, and also helping facilitate other people along their pottery journey. I have also been putting a lot of work towards my mental health and strengthening my sense of self. Yes. When I started working on gratitude with my therapist, I told her that I wish we did this sooner, to which she said respectfully, Katie, if we tried to do this sooner, you would have told me to go fuck myself. And she's not wrong. Gratitude at first glance doesn't feel like a robust, strong rope to pull you out of the depths of despair. It kind of feels like needing a full set of climbing gear and getting tossed a keychain. Cool. What am I supposed to do with this? But over time, what I've come to realize is that gratitude feels like a goofy, weird loophole because it kind of is a goofy magic loophole. Practicing gratitude rewires your pattern-seeking brain to become better at recognizing and reinforcing thoughts and actions that result in a feeling of gratitude. It is a classic what you feed grows scenario. And yes, you can technically flip that switch at any time and start noticing a difference. But in my experience, lasting change takes a lot of learning and unlearning, and most of all, capacity and willingness to change. If you're waist deep in the shit and somebody tries to hand you a glittery keychain that says gratitude is the attitude, you might very well tell them to fuck off, and I would not fault you for that. I was burnt out after 4 years of sprinting to keep up with my business. Beyond the macro challenges of navigating these unprecedented times, as a first-time business owner and just regular-ass human, I was also grieving. I was depressed. I didn't know it at the time, but I was experiencing extreme autistic burnout. I was struggling financially. I was experiencing some scary harassment that made me feel unsafe. I had all sorts of health problems popping up. Somebody threw a brick through my living room window. Gratitude was not the attitude at that time. My outlook was very much so pessimistic and woe is me. But what I realize now is that I needed to feel those challenges in a really significant way to understand my capacity for discomfort and ultimately recognize my capacity and desire for change. It helps me to visualize my capacity for overwhelm like a cup that I'm balancing on the top of my head. So as we navigate through life and things get overwhelming, our cup gets more full. And the more full our cup becomes, the less capacity we have to deal with things as they arise. When it's lower, you can slosh around a little bit. There's wiggle room. You're not really sweating the small stuff. But as it continues to fill, you become more and more hyper aware of how close you are to having that spill over. I was really doing so good ad-libbing, and then I forgot where I left off. It's fine. My cup is low, so we're cool. We can roll with it. Yeah, so essentially, as you inch closer to the top, the more frantic you become because you are so aware of the fact that you don't have a lot of capacity there. And you are trying to do just anything you possibly can to prevent that cup from spilling over. And my cup spilled all the way over. It brought me to my hands and knees to clean it up. And it was really scary, but what I realized after all of that was I survived. And I was also no longer at maximum capacity, because one of the great side effects of spilling your overflowed cup is it's empty, bitch! Oh my God! You have wiggle room! And not only do you have wiggle room in your cup, but also, through that challenge and hardship, you get a more robust, strong vessel. My cup became a bucket. And then eventually, you realize that you can ditch the vessel altogether. Overwhelm becomes a fleeting feeling, something you recognize and deal with as it comes, but it doesn't need to stay and accumulate. When it does pop up, because it will, you can find yourself saying, I feel overwhelmed, not I am overwhelmed. And when I reframed my mindset to be one of gratitude and abundance instead of overwhelm and anxiety, I was able to slow down and ask myself, what do I want? And then, how do I make that happen? My partner and I talk a lot about the sense of rigid ease versus genuine ease. And I was white-knuckle clinging to the idea of ease for so long that I did not realize that this is the antithesis of ease. All of the it should be's and if onlys and woe is me's aren't the answer to finding your flow and ease. Genuine ease exists in acknowledging your reality and working with it to make it what you want. And what I like about gratitude is that it doesn't erase the challenges. Someone can behave poorly towards me and I can recognize that sucked. Or I can behave poorly towards somebody and realize, oh shit, that sucked. I have to re-examine my behavior. You can miss the bus or drop your sandwich, whatever. These things can and will still happen, and that's life. But instead of focusing on the negatives, even when the negatives are huge, make an effort to focus on the positives too. And maybe that's just the fact that the sun came out today and you got to go for a lovely walk, or I sat by the pond before this speech to collect myself. Or maybe you had like a gorgeous lasagna for dinner last night. Just think about the little things that make you feel grateful, because gratitude, abundance, and joy, it's all connected. And if you start noticing what brings you joy, then you'll find more joy. Your mind wants to build patterns, so why not make them cute and fun? I'm going to leave you with a quote that my partner would say to me when I was deep in the shit and I needed some gentle perspective. In a world so big that it makes you feel small, what can you do to make your small world feel big? Thank you.